Bueno, que viajen, que disfruten la vida, que sean felices. Gracias, chao.
Hey guys, welcome to the 10th and final episode of the Chile Ride series here on the Spanish Dojo channel, which documents my cousins and my motorcycle adventure across the country of Chile in January of 2020. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Remember that this series is available in both English and Spanish, so if you prefer, solo haz clic aquí arriba para ver este episodio en español. We spent the previous episode crossing what remained of the Santa Cruz province in Argentina, which eventually took us back to the Chilean border. In this final installment, as we cross back into Chile, we'll be in the region of Magallanes. This once again puts us back in the natural region known as the Zona Austral, which you'll recall is the Austral Zone or southernmost zone. So we're back to the lakes, mountains, fjords, glaciers, etc. that are characteristic of this region and Chilean Patagonia in general. Rainfall is a lot more frequent in this area, and we actually experienced our first and only day of riding in the rain in this region. David even made the comment that the climate of the Zona Austral reminded him a lot of summers in Alaska. We closed out the previous episode on January 23rd as we were making our way through the 5-mile no man's land that sits between Argentine and Chilean customs on either side of the border. As we neared the end of the Argentine gravel and approached the Chilean border, we were greeted with beautiful, beautiful pavement. That transitional stretch of road between Argentina's Route 40 and Chile's Route 9 is designated Y205 on the Chilean side. Again, the customs process was quick and painless, and all of the Chilean agents were friendly and helpful. This area is part of a well-known national park in Chile called Torres del Paine, and the roundabout here marks the split from Y205 onto the very beginning of Route 9. Route 9 is also known as La Ruta del Fin del Mundo, or the Route of the End of the World, because it's the main highway that runs down from this point in Torres del Paine to cover the southern half of the southernmost region in Chile, the Magallanes region. So it is pretty much the end of the world, and this is the region where we'll spend this entire episode to wrap up the series. We set a goal to hit the port town of Puerto Natales by the end of the day, which was a pretty easy task since it was only 40 miles south of the border on Route 9. To the right here is Lago Figueroa, or Lake Figueroa, which is just one of the many beautiful features found along Route 9 and the Magallanes region. This stretch looks out over a sound called Seno Última Esperanza, or Last Hope Sound, as you approach Puerto Natales. Having arrived at Puerto Natales, we now just needed to familiarize ourselves with the town, find a place to stay, and grab some groceries. We had seen some cabins on our way into town earlier, so we decided to go check those out. These look pretty promising, so we talked to the proprietor about staying the night.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Andan viendo cabañas.
Por favor.
Y esa puede ser, son dos solamente.
Dos solamente.
Veamos. ¿Cuál prefieres? ¿Esa o esa?
¿Cuánto cuesta la noche?
60, pero se la puedo dejar en 50.
Okay. It'd be 50,000 for the night. That's like $80.
For both of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
You okay? Yeah.
Do laundry.
¿Sí tienen para lavar ropa? No.
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 ¿Tienes mucho que lavar?
No mucho. Una lavada yo creo.
Pero te puedo pasar la lavadora y lo colgamos arriba.
¿También?
Sí.
¿Y tiene para cocinar y todo?
Sí, veamos la cabaña.
Ok, sí.
¿Pero qué prefiere? ¿Esa o esa? Una de dos.
¿Esta o cuál?
¿Esta o la de esa, la segunda que está ahí?
Which one do you want? That one or that one?
The cabin was perfect. It gave us a nice view of the sound and a cozy place to sleep. This place is called Coteng Aike. I highly recommend it if you're ever in this area just outside of Puerto Natales. You can find a link to their website in the description. We had started January 23rd in Tres Lagos, Argentina, as seen in the previous episode, and ridden 240 miles on Route 40 to get to the Chilean border, plus another 40 miles down Route 9 to Puerto Natales, making a total of 280 miles for the day. And we finished out the day by enjoying a great dinner that David cooked up with the groceries we had gotten in town. We started the morning of January 24th with another delicious breakfast and then headed out for our final day of riding. Route 9 backtracks into town just slightly in order to hit the roundabout and continue south. Our target was only 155 miles away, so it was a pretty manageable distance for the day. Or at least it would have been if it hadn't started raining. It really started coming down, and riding 155 miles in the rain is no picnic. But it's hard to complain too much since this was the only day we got rained on throughout the entire journey, and it was the last day of riding, so it was no big deal. Our goal for the day, also doubling as our final destination for the whole trip, was the port town of Punta Arenas, which sits right on the Strait of Magellan. made it to Punta Arenas, got dried out, and were offered a hot meal by our friend and gracious host, Luz Elena Guzman, who's a cousin of a good friend of mine back home. I asked her to say a few words so that you could get to know her here.
Hola, buenas tardes. Yo me llamo Luz Elena Guzmán. Yo nací en Colombia y tengo también la nacionalidad chilena. Hace 20 años vivo en el sur de Chile, en la Patagonia, en la región de Magallanes y Antártica chilena. Lo que más me gusta de la región en la que estoy viviendo es la tranquilidad con que se vive durante los pasados 20 años, porque en el último año ha sido muy difícil toda la situación en Chile. Bueno, que viajen, que disfruten la vida, que sean felices. Gracias, chao.
Luz Elena showed us some sights around town, including the Strait of Magellan itself. There was a new plaque commemorating the 500th anniversary of its discovery in 1520. The 400th anniversary is marked by a 1920 plaque, which is now a piece of history itself. The next day, January 25th, we followed Luz Elena across town to the home and shop of another friend named Santiago, where we spent a good portion of the day getting our paperwork in order, getting our gear ready for the flight home, doing general bike maintenance, and prepping the bikes for long-term storage. We took David to the airport to catch his flight home on the following day, January 26th. The next morning, January 27th, Luz Elena and I had to drop both bikes off at customs, fill out the paperwork, and get our powers of attorney notarized so that Santiago could retrieve the bikes from customs after we left. This all had to be accomplished in time for me to get to the airport by 11:30 in the morning. It was tight, but we made it happen and Luz Elena saw me off. This episode covered the 40 miles from the border to Puerto Natales on January 23rd, the 155 miles from Puerto Natales to Punta Arenas on January 24th, plus another 10 miles or so of miscellaneous in-town riding as we squared things away over the weekend, making a total of 205 miles for this episode. I flew back to the Santiago airport in order to lay over and ultimately head home. The bikes would stay in Chile, being stored at the customs warehouse and eventually transferred to our friend Santiago's property to be kept in storage until our next big South American adventure. The total distance traveled for our entire journey ended up being around 3,500 miles or so, stretching from Arica in the north, right on the Peruvian border, all the way to Punta Arenas in the south, sitting on the Strait of Magellan at the end of the world. Well, here we are at the end of the Chile Ride series. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed living it. Once again, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you haven't checked out any of the episodes in Spanish yet, but would like to challenge yourself, you can circle back around to the first episode and proceed to re-watch this entire series in Spanish by clicking up here. If you just want to watch the Spanish language version of this current episode, solo haz clic aquí abajo para volver a ver este mismo episodio en español. Otherwise, thanks again for joining us on our amazing Chile Ride. We'll see you next time.